Japan begins dumping wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear plant despite criticism from its neighbours.
I'm Yin Khvat for TaiwanPlus, here outside Russia's de facto embassy in Taiwan's capital, Taipei, where people are gathering to mark Ukraine's Independence Day and show solidarity with Ukrainians fighting for their freedom.
Do you think you can beat a robot at a game of pool? We're here to find out the limits of what a robot can do.
Plus, how seaweed is saving the planet. A warm welcome to Taiwan Plus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Japan has begun releasing its first batch of treated nuclear wastewater into the Pacific Ocean. The water comes from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which was damaged in a tsunami in 2011. A total of 1.3 million tons of treated wastewater is planned to be dumped into the ocean. The UN's nuclear watchdog says it will monitor the release. The global body and many scientists say the discharge will only have a small impact on people and the environment, but the move has drawn criticism from nearby China and South Korea. To find out more about the Fukushima treated wastewater release, our reporter Sally Jensen spoke to Dr. Leslie Mabon, a lecturer in environmental systems at the Open University in the United Kingdom.
Japan is now releasing the treated Fukushima nuclear wastewater. How safe is it really?
There's a general consensus among the scientific community that if the processes are followed in the way that Tokyo Electric and the Japanese government have said, if the equipment functions properly, and if everything in the tanks is diluted in the way that they say it's going to be, the risks to people and the marine environment are going to be minimal. The broad consensus is that risks to people who might be eating fish or swimming in the sea or living near the plant are going to be virtually zero.
A lot of citizens in countries in East Asia have been protesting the release, citing their safety concerns. Why do you think it's such a contentious issue for people here?
There are a number of reasons why this is a very contentious issue. Let's start with the people who live closest to the plant itself, the fishers and the fishing communities in Fukushima Prefecture. Fishing is not just a job, it's a way of life for the fishing communities of Fukushima Prefecture. And they've worked very hard since the 2011 disaster to rehabilitate their fishery. And the concern now is that this is going to undo all the hard work that they've done. Internationally too, I think there's different issues at stake, and the Pacific Ocean is a site of a lot of geopolitical tension, and anything like this has got the potential to become a flashpoint between different nations. So this treated water release is just one of a number of issues that has a potential to become a focal point for tension between countries. So this issue are based on science and not just geopolitics and sentiment.
That was Sally Jensen talking to Dr. Leslie Mabon, a lecturer in environmental systems at the Open University in the United Kingdom. The BRICS group of emerging economies is inviting 6 more countries to become members. Argentina, Egypt, Iran, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates will be asked to join the existing members Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa made the announcement on the last day of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg on Thursday. BRICS members have publicly expressed support for adding new members, but leaders have disagreed over how far and how quickly to expand. August 24th is when Ukraine marks its Independence Day as the country continues its fight against invading Russian forces. People in Taiwan gathered in central Taipei on Thursday to show their support for Ukraine. Rick Lauer was there.
Here outside Russia's de facto embassy in the center of Taiwan's capital, Taipei, people are gathering to show support for Ukrainians fighting Russia's invasion. It's Ukraine's Independence Day, the day that in 1991, Ukraine formally left the Soviet Union. Since Russia invaded Ukraine 18 months ago, Taiwanese have been steadfast in their support for that country. They've found commonalities in Ukraine's struggle against a much bigger belligerent neighbor, Russia, and their own battle against Chinese aggression. Taiwan's government has been generous in giving aid and development funds to Ukraine, and Taiwanese people have been offering food, resources and fundraising to help the Ukrainian people. 18 months into the war, here on the streets of Taipei, 8,000 kilometers from Ukraine, a show of solidarity. Chris Marr and Rick Glowert in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
The US has approved a military package worth $500 million to support Taiwan's fleet of F-16 fighter jets. The deal was announced on Thursday. It will include search and tracking systems to help protect the aircraft. Training, spare parts and other equipment for the planes will also be included. This is the 11th US-Taiwan arms deal to take place under the Biden administration. Taiwan has one of the largest fleets of F-16 fighter jets in the world at about 140, with another 66 to be delivered by the end of 2026. The presidential hopeful for Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang party says he will visit the United States next month. Hou You-yi will depart Taiwan on September 14th and visit New York, Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. He is scheduled to meet with the chair of the American Institute in Taiwan, Laura Rosenberger, and give a speech at a Washington-based think tank during his 8-day stay. Hou's announcement comes shortly after ruling Democratic Progressive Party candidate Lai Ching-te stopped over in the U.S. earlier this month. Taiwan's presidential elections take place in January. Concerns are mounting over Taiwan's new citizen judge system put in place at the start of the year. Though it's meant to bring accountability to the courts by giving citizens a say in cases, critics say trials are rushed and professional judges interfere in sentencing. John Van Trieste has this report.
Taiwan's new citizen judge program appears to have some growing pains. The system brings ordinary people and career judges together to decide cases. The aim is to make courtrooms transparent and end complaints that they're run by judges who are out of touch and not accountable to anyone. It's also part of President Tsai Ing-wen's pledge to reform Taiwan's judiciary. Since the system was launched in January, only 4 trials have used citizen judges, but the system already has its critics. Some say the trials have been rushed.
起诉之后，给予辩护人准备案件的时间可以再适度的增加，让辩护人有足够的时间去了解说这个个案需要哪一些证据。
There are also questions about the influence the professional judges have over sentencing. Some observers say they push for harsher sentences than the citizen judges might want.
我们也看到重判的趋势了，多案件的这个似乎刑跟罪这两者之间不大相符啊。
Critics include former citizen judges as well. One, who helped hear a recent murder trial, says the career judges hold a lot of sway, the very thing the new system was meant to reduce.
他已经经历过一次的减刑，法官会跟我们讲一下这次争议的刑法第59条吗？在第2次减刑的话，他的刑期大概会跟重伤害，或者强盗，或者是毒品。
Taiwan's judicial branch says these complaints of overreach by career judges are unfounded. It says all citizen judges are free to voice their views and make independent decisions. But it seems not everyone is convinced. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's cabinet is set to meet next month to decide on a minimum wage hike. Labour groups are calling on the government to increase salaries significantly. Bing Wang reports.
Salaries for minimum wage jobs like these are expected to rise again in 2024. Labor groups are calling for a 4.55% increase in minimum wage next year, the same hike from 2022 to 2023. That will give minimum wage earners the equivalent of $40 more a month, raising pay from $830 to $870. Taiwan's cabinet is expected to make a decision in early September. Around 2.5 million workers will be affected.
至少要比照军公教，至少要4%。我们的薪资中位数大约42000，乘以2/3的话，那在台湾来讲，只要工资低于27600的话，就是低薪族。
Since President Tsai Ing-wen took office in 2016, the minimum wage, which was set at $660 then, has increased every year with an average jump of 4.05%. Tsai had campaigned to get it to about $940 by the end of her term, but as presidential elections are set for next January, that's unlikely to happen. Economists say the expected increase in consumer price index must be considered. Last year, the average real wage dropped due to the soaring cost of living, which means that price increases exceeded pay raises. But government statistics show that inflation has slowed down this year. Minimum wage workers are hoping with the salary increase, they can continue to afford to live in Taiwan. Patrick Chen and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Robots have been taking on more tasks in factories around the world. As a global leader in making these smart machines, Taiwan is continually exploring new possibilities. Joyce Tseng brings us the latest in the industrial push to automate.
So you've seen robots before, but have you seen one play pool? Taiwan has the highest density of machinery plants in the world, and engineers are constantly finding new ways to put these mechanical arms to use. They're not just for show. The machines are pushing Taiwan's factories further in a global trend of industrial automation, a so-called Industry 4.0 and even 5.0 revolution. What's new is how these machines can move up and down, side to side, and twist and turn with even more freedom. This multi-axis movement is driving new possibilities for the field of robotics.
The modern factory is much different than before. Many robots have been adopted by factory. Why? Because flexibility.
In the past, one machine would be programmed to do just one task. If that task changed even a little bit, it'd take a whole new machine. But this new generation of robots can learn to do an infinite number of different things. With so many different types of robot arms, the next step for smart factories is to figure out a way to get them all connected and working together harmoniously. And that's where communication systems become crucial.
The main challenge is probably the perspective of the owner, because by integrating all the robots and the manufacturing lines all together, including big data and including AI being part of the whole system, takes a lot of investment.
That investment is not just the cost of the equipment. Industry leaders say it also includes technical know-how, talent, and training. Though several of Taiwan's electronic giants are leading the way with new technologies, getting all the country's factories on board and investing in smart manufacturing may take more time.
Not every Taiwanese businesses are thinking that way. They always think, okay, if I can have the money today in my pocket, I would do that first.
Many traditional machines now in use would need to be refitted or even replaced to fully integrate into a smart factory.
因为有很多设备，它其实是根本没有可以让系统取得资料的管道。
Though there's still some way to go to fully automate Taiwan's factories, the country is well positioned to get it done. But it will be up to each company to make the leap from humans to robots. John Su and Joyce Tseng for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has recorded its first local case of typhoid fever of the year. Health authorities say a man in his 30s was diagnosed with the disease this week. He's still being treated in hospital. Typhoid fever spreads through contact with human waste, including through contaminated water. It can be treated with antibiotics, but without them, it can be deadly. Taiwan usually records a handful of cases a year. To avoid infections, doctors urge people to wash their hands and make sure their food is cooked properly. Coming up, find out how a grassroots project in Taipei is sowing the seeds for change.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world. charted by the freest country in Asia.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC.
Public buses to be electric by 2030. A mission that begins with listening.
And telling the stories of Taiwan.
In Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Drawing insight from original thinkers.
And sharing it with the world. TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. North Korea's second attempt at launching a spy satellite has failed, with the rocket crashing into the sea. North Korean state media says the rocket went down after its third stage booster experienced a problem. South Korea says it will attempt to salvage wreckage from the crash. North Korea's first spy satellite launch in May also failed. Pyongyang says a third attempt will take place in October. Scientists in India are able to breathe a sigh of relief as the country has become the first ever to land a space probe on the dark side of the moon. Harel Hughes tells us more.
Millions of people waiting with bated breath. And then a well-deserved celebration.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
On Wednesday, India became the fourth country ever to land a spacecraft on the moon. More than 8 million people tuned into the live stream to monitor the landing. And after it was confirmed to have safely touched down, celebrations kicked off across the country. With drums, fireworks, dancing, and lots of hugs.
I'm feeling super excited and super motivated. And now I also want to be the part of ISRO because it motivated me a lot.
It's the landing location that makes this mission particularly special. India is the first country to land a probe on the moon's south pole, a huge undertaking. This part of the moon is in permanent shadow and of huge scientific interest. Scientists hope exploring the area could lead to the discovery of water reserves.
This is a very important discovery because if they manage to find it, so as you know, that can be an important input both to generate possibly oxygen for life there, that will in turn also be used for potential fuel as well as water for sustainability of life on the moon, but also future missions.
The successful landing of India's lunar probe eclipses past attempts by Russia, Israel, and Japan, all of which have failed. This moonshot was 4 years in the making, and the stakes were high after India launched a spacecraft in 2019 that failed to touch down. It's a proud time for many in the country. The craft is expected to carry out its mission over the next 2 weeks, but the exhilaration of the landing will last much longer. Yusung Shen and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Turns out seaweed isn't just a tasty snack. Researchers at a Taiwanese university have found there's a particular species that's also effective at fighting climate change. Sally Jensen has the story.
You've probably seen it alongside your sushi, and in many cultures, edible seaweed is a popular dish. But here at National Sun Yat-sen University in southern Taiwan, researchers have found this species has another, even more exciting purpose: mitigating global heating.
平均大概是每1公顷，每1年可以到30吨的二氧化碳，大约是大安森林公园的2倍左右。
Da'an Forest Park, sometimes called Taipei's green lung, can capture 15 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare per year, only half of what this seaweed can. As Taiwan has a goal of net zero carbon emissions by 2050, the country is looking for ways to reduce the concentration of the planet-heating gas in the atmosphere. And in other countries like the US, the humble seaweed's carbon-absorbing powers have already been deployed.
There's no fresh water, no fertilizer, no feed.
make it the most sustainable food on the planet, but at the same time, our crops soak up carbon, nitrogen, rebuild reef systems, so they really become engines of restoration as we're farming and trying to make a living.
Similarly, in Japan, scientists and fisheries workers are already teaming up to use seaweed to absorb harmful carbon dioxide emissions and turn them into useful organic matter.
ただ昆布を養殖するっていうだけじゃなくて、温暖化対策、生態系の保全という観点で昆布の養殖のプロジェクトをもうそうですね、7年ぐらいやってます。
Taiwan is one of Asia's biggest per capita emitters of carbon dioxide, and the researchers at Sun Yat-sen University hope the findings from their research will also allow them to scale up their work.
透过这样的研究，可以让海藻能够被大量实地的养殖，然后做更有效率的以及更稳定的吸碳的这样子的工作与作业。
Taking this planet-friendly seaweed from the backyard bathtub to the big blue. Joseph Wu and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
Researchers say people living close to nature are less likely to have bipolar disorder. John Van Trieste has the details.
When it comes to mental health, the great outdoors can make a great difference. That's what Taiwanese researchers have found. Comparing satellite photos and mental health statistics, they found that greener areas tend to have fewer residents with bipolar disorder, a mental illness that causes intense bouts of depression. That's why some researchers believe creating more green spaces could have a profound impact on health in Taiwan.
整体来讲，会因为绿地让我们比较不会得躁郁症，可以让我们大概平均来讲整体多活了6年左右的时间，它可以带来212.7万美元的一个产值的一个增加。
Health experts caution that green spaces are not a cure for bipolar disorder.
因为很多因素是属于不可控制的，比如说像基因啦。但是绿地呢，其实是起码我们可以控制的，而且是可以我们努力的方向。
The World Health Organization recommends everyone should live within 300 meters of over a half hectare of green space. In Taiwan, there are 50 towns that don't meet that standard, meaning there's a lot of tree planting to be done to improve the country's mental health. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A garden in a northeastern Taipei neighborhood is helping the community grow together, and locals hope it could inspire future green rooftops. Bryn Thomas digs in.
Travel north on Taipei Metro's Brown Line and you'll find a green island in a concrete jungle. It's a place where local shopkeepers, office workers, and clerks become gardeners and farmers. This urban oasis sits atop Donghu Public Library. It's a project that could plant seeds for real change.
这是我们辛苦种的丝瓜哦，可以采收了。
这个是皇宫菜哈，不到1个礼拜哦，长得好多。
采这个开心吗？
当然开心啊！你看上个礼拜来才剪的，这个礼拜来它又给你长得头好壮壮。
This rooftop garden is among the largest in Taiwan. It's providing people in the area with fresh-grown produce and something to do, but there are other benefits too.
例如顶好处啊，可以绿美化呀，可以节能减碳呐，这样子，嘿，可以净化空气呀，等等的。
Green spaces in cities play an important role in reducing the heat island effect. Taipei is a basin, is very humid, and its population is highly reliant on air-conditioned. Combined with a closely packed, dense cityscape, the result is a hot, muggy summer. The plants here provide shade and insulation that lowers temperatures.
可以降低室内的温度。那其实植物透过光合作用和蒸散作用，除了可以降热以外，那在强降雨的时候呢，也可以延缓这个积淹水的风险。
Still, managing heat means getting a few things right. For example, 10-centimeter deep soil insulates a building against heat, but 30-centimeter deep soil can store it, increasing the strain on AC units. This means would-be gardeners need to know their plants.
种的品种会因为这个每一种植栽它的土壤的需求高度不一样。假设我们种蔬菜可能15公分、20公分就够了，但是我们假如种玉米的话，可能要30公分以上，不然它的很容易倒伏。
And then there's the issue of water. Add too much, and your neighbors could be flowing upstairs and pouring out their complaints. That's where Khvat comes in.
田园绿屋顶最让人家头痛的就是浇水的问题。那我们这个田园绿屋顶很高兴，我们就设计了叫做这个智慧云端喷灌系统。那这整个系统可以透过手机就可以控制远端的控制。
The process of urban gardening requires a lot of planning, but when it's done right, its effects are significant. It can drop temperatures by multiple degrees, which helps lower power bills. This gives the added benefit of reducing reliance on non-renewable energy sources.
我们这里有学员曾经量过，我们这边跟楼下的温度差了3度，真的是差了3度左右啦。楼上因为我们大概85%的面积都种菜了。
Although this project is small, researchers say scaling it up could have a huge impact. Taipei alone covers just over 270 square kilometers and has a population of about 2.5 million people. From space, it looks like a blanket of gray, empty rooftops. But for the gardeners at Donghu Public Library, that's a whole lot of potential. And big things can grow from the smallest seeds. Howard Chang and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images from the world's largest computer games fair in the German city of Cologne. I'm Yin Khvat. Take care and see you next time.